Hey guys, how the hell are you? Welcome back once again to another episode of Mini Bottle Monday here at Arnold Drinks. My name is Arnold, and tonight I drink. So tonight's mini bottle of choice we are having from New Riff Distilling. We are having their straight bourbon whiskey. This is something that was recently picked up for me by my wife. Thank you so very much, honey. She picked this up on one of her recent road trips, and I'm very excited to try it out for you. I've had some New Riff products in the past and have been very pleased. I'm looking forward to this. However, what's funny enough is even though I've had other New Riff stuff, I've never had their core product. So this is going to be kind of a first for me. This is really cool. It is bottled in bond, says so very loud and proud on the bottle there. That means that it is 100 proof. That means that it is aged for at least 4 years. This is actually distilled by New Riff in their distillery in Newport, Kentucky. So it is their own distillate. It's not anything that's sourced. So that's another thing that I think is really cool. I always like it when I find awesome distilleries that are using their own product, not sourcing from MGP or Dickel or anywhere else for that matter. So let's go ahead and give this a sniff. Let's see what we're working with here. Wow, green apple right off the bat. Like a little bit of green apple and pear. It's kind of funny. It's one of those things where I don't really get that note in super abundance in a lot of other bourbons that I try, even though I read sometimes that that note is there. But this one, it's very present. Bit of baking spice, bit of cinnamon, little bit of mintiness that's in there too. Kind of similar to what I had from the single barrel store pick that I had. That is just really different. Little bit of chocolate trying to come through as well, like a little bit of brown sugar and chocolate kind of coming through at the same time. Maybe chocolate isn't the right word. Maybe cocoa powder is a little bit better description. Cocoa powder and brown sugar. All right, let's go in for a sip. So the green apple is definitely still there, but thankfully it's more subdued. It's kind of being overpowered a little bit by the cocoa powder and the brown sugar notes that I was getting on the aroma. Now I'm starting to get just a little bit of a ever so slightly nuttiness that's in there. Maybe like a little bit of a hazelnut thing, kind of intermingling with a buttered toffee. That's rather interesting. All right, let's go back in again. Rather full-bodied, if I do say so. Like it's rather palate filling. A lot of different stuff going on in there. A lot less fruity sweetness on the palate. What I'm getting on the palate is a lot more of a bit of graininess, a little bit more of like a sugary sweetness kind of. That brown sugar note is just really big and bold. The hazelnut is coming through. That buttered toffee thing is there, but that's not as much in there as the hazelnut, and definitely nowhere close to as present as the brown sugar. There's almost a syrupy like thing that's in there too. Almost like an orgeat. Is that how you pronounce it? Orgeat syrup? That kind of almond syrup that you get. A little bit of that kind of flavor in there as well. Let's go in again. And on this go around, the proofage is kind of carrying a few more things to the forefront. Like all of a sudden now, that baking cinnamon and that baking spice is kind of really coming forth a little bit. It's still like that brown sugar is probably the most present note, and after 3 sips now, I can confidently say that is not going away. That is definitely the most present note that's in there. Definitely a nice kind of healthy balance of a lot of different things in there. You know, I'm kind of curious. I wonder how this would behave kind of compared to that single barrel that I've got. Let me grab that real fast. So if you guys may remember an older video that I did, this is a Lake Liquors single barrel store pick. This is New Riff single barrel. And I remember this thing having some pretty impressive notes on it. Now, as far as I know, I believe it's the same mash, but yeah, don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. But I'm just kind of curious to see how this behaves compared to the core product that we're trying right here. So let's give this a sniff. Way mintier. Way mintier. Like refreshing mintiness. Now back to the core straight bourbon. See, what's funny is now that I've smelled this almost has kind of a cherry thing to it by comparison. Minty, chocolatey, brown sugar, cherry, and kind of buttered toffee. So that's interesting. Dramatically different on the aroma. Let's go in for a sip on, let's do the core one first. Still tons of brown sugar, tons of that sort of baking cinnamon, a little bit of grainy texture in there too. Buttered toffee, yeah, kind of all that is still coming through. Now let's go back in on the single barrel. Dramatically different. That one has a little bit more alcohol burn to it, but at the same time it's bringing with it a little bit more of a complex chocolatey note along with that mintiness, and definitely nowhere near as grainy. Has a similar kind of syrupy thing going on in there too, but the big notes out of that are mint and chocolate. Yeah, still brown sugar and grain, buttered toffee, cinnamon, baking spice, and now the finish is a hell of a lot longer on this too. Like it lingers a little bit more grainy as the finish goes on. Very interesting pour, very balanced pour all the same. So yeah, I mean, I really dig this. It's always encouraging to see a distillery that's kind of making waves in the industry and also doing their own thing, not really content to just source more product from MGP or any other of those distilleries that these days you find their stuff in pretty much any number of bottles. New Riff is doing their own thing. They have their own distillate. It tastes interesting. It tastes unique. It tastes great. It's not something that, oh my god, that's going to be my first pick every time I see it on a shelf, but it is something where, you know, if I was to have a bottle on my shelf and then I kill off that bottle, I'd go off in search of another one. It's just damn good bourbon, straight up, all around, very balanced, has some great flavor notes in there. It's very enjoyable, not mind-blowing, but not at all bad in the slightest. Definitely something that I think is worth the money though. I would happily buy a full-size bottle of the core product. So thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel. Tons more of this to come, and as always, remember, take what you do seriously, but do not take yourselves too seriously.